In a lively village by the riverbank, two girls, Lami and Ada, were known for their unbreakable friendship. From the moment they could walk, they were inseparable. Whether it was fetching water from the stream, dancing during the village festivals, or whispering secrets under the moonlight, the two were always together. Lami, with her quick wit and clever ideas, often found solutions to any problem, while Ada, with her beauty and gentle heart, brought smiles wherever she went. As they grew older, their lives began to change. Ada's charm caught the attention of King Obi, the young and respected ruler of the land. King Obi was strong, with a voice that commanded respect and eyes that held warmth. When he saw Ada one day during a village celebration, his heart was captured. Without delay, he went to her family and asked for her hand in marriage. Lami watched all of this unfold with a forced smile. She told herself she was happy for Ada, but deep down she felt something different. Every time she saw Ada wearing her royal robes, walking hand in hand with King Obi, or laughing with her new husband, Lami felt a twist of envy. One day Ada visited Lami in the small hut where she lived. "Lami, you must come and visit the palace more often," Ada said, her eyes sparkling. "It feels so empty without you." Lami forced a smile. "I will try," she said, though her heart burned with jealousy. As days turned into weeks, Lami's envy grew. She began to avoid Ada, pretending to be busy with work. But in truth, Lami couldn't bear to see her friend's happiness anymore. One night, as she lay in her bed, a dark thought crept into her mind. "Why should Ada have everything?" Lami whispered to herself. "If she were gone, I could take her place as queen." The thought refused to leave her. It grew stronger with each passing day until Lami decided to act. She remembered the stories of a powerful old woman who lived deep in the forest. It was said that this woman could cast spells and grant wishes, for a price. Lami didn't care about the cost. She was willing to do anything. Early one morning, before the sun rose, Lami left her hut and made her way into the forest. The trees were thick, their branches blocking out the sky. Strange noises surrounded her, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of leaves, the distant growl of an animal. But Lami pressed on, determined to find the old woman. After hours of walking, she finally saw a small hut made of sticks and leaves. Smoke curled out of the chimney, and a strange smell filled the air. Lami's heart raced as she stepped closer. The old woman was sitting outside, stirring a pot of bubbling green liquid. She had long, tangled hair and eyes that seemed to see right through Lami. "What brings you here, child?" the old woman asked, in a voice that was both gentle and sharp. Lami hesitated for a moment, but then she said, "I want my friend gone. I want to take her place as queen." The old woman raised an eyebrow. "That is a dark wish," she said. "Are you ready for the consequences?" "Yes," Lami said without hesitation. "I'll do whatever it takes." The old woman smiled, showing her crooked teeth. She reached into her hut and brought out a small bottle filled with green liquid. "Give this to your friend," she said. "It will turn her into something harmless, something no one will ever think about again." "What will it turn her into?" Lami asked, her voice trembling with excitement. The old woman's smile widened. "A fish," she said. "She will live in the river, far from the palace. No one will know." Lami took the bottle and rushed back to the village. Her hands trembled as she hid it in her bag. She waited for the right moment, and a few days later, when Ada came to visit her, Lami saw her chance. "I made something special for you," Lami said, holding out a wooden cup filled with the green liquid. "It's a drink to give you strength and keep you happy." Ada smiled warmly. "Thank you, Lami. You're such a good friend." She drank the liquid without hesitation. The change was instant. Ada's body began to shrink. Her arms disappeared, and her legs turned into a long, scaly tail. Before Lami's eyes, Ada transformed into a small golden fish. Lami picked up the fish and stared at it. "Goodbye, Ada," she whispered. She carried the fish to the river and threw it in. "Now King Obi will forget about you, and I will take your place." Days passed after Ada's disappearance, and the palace was filled with confusion. Ada was loved by everyone, from the servants to the villagers, who saw her as a queen with a kind and giving heart. When she vanished without a trace, King Obi sent search parties across the land, but no one could find her. King Obi grew restless. He tried everything by his powers to look for his beloved wife. But all to no avail. Each night when he finally managed to sleep, dreams haunted him. In his dreams, he saw Ada standing at the riverbank. Her face was sad, and her voice echoed in his ears, calling his name. "Obi, I am here. I need your help." The dreams became more vivid with each passing night, and soon King Obi was convinced they were more than just dreams. He believed Ada was trying to reach him. Lami continued her life as though nothing had happened. She visited the palace often, pretending to help King Obi in his grief. "My king," Lami said one day as they sat in the garden, "I know you miss Ada, but life must go on. The villagers need a strong leader. I can help you." Her words were sweet, but her heart was filled with deceit. Obi sighed deeply. His once bright eyes had grown dull with sadness. "Ada was my light, Lami. Without her, the palace feels empty." Lami's stomach churned with frustration. No matter how kind or attentive she pretended to be, Obi's heart remained closed to her. He treated her as a loyal friend, nothing more. Weeks turned into months, and whispers spread across the village. Some people believed Ada had run away, while others suspected foul play. One night, Lami sat in her hut, staring into the flickering light of a candle. "Why does he still think of her?" she muttered. "Ada is gone. I should be the queen by now." Suddenly, an idea came to her mind. If her kindness couldn't win Obi's heart, maybe magic could. She remembered the old woman in the forest, the one who had given her the potion to turn Ada into a fish. If the old woman could make Ada disappear, surely she could make Obi fall in love. At the break of dawn, Lami set off for the forest. The trees loomed tall and dark, their branches twisting like bony fingers. The path was silent, save for the crunch of leaves under her feet. When she reached the old woman's hut, smoke was once again curling from the chimney. The old woman was sitting on a wooden stool, grinding herbs in a stone bowl. She didn't look up when Lami arrived. "Back so soon, child," the old woman said, her voice raspy. "I warned you that your first wish would bring trouble. What do you want now?" "I want King Obi to love me," Lami said. The old woman chuckled darkly and finally looked up. "Love cannot be forced, child, not without a price." "I don't care about the price," Lami snapped. "I'm willing to pay anything." The old woman narrowed her eyes. "Anything, you say? Even your womb?" Lami froze. "My womb?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes," the old woman said. "To make the king love you, I will need a powerful sacrifice. You will never bear children. If you agree, the charm will work. If you hesitate, leave now." Lami's heart pounded. She had always dreamed of being a mother, but the desire to be queen burned hotter. She imagined herself wearing a crown, sitting beside King Obi, with everyone bowing to her. "I agree," Lami said at last. Her voice was firm, though her hands trembled. The old woman grinned, revealing her yellow teeth. She reached for a black pot and began mixing herbs, powders, and strange liquids. The room filled with a thick, bitter smell. "Take this charm," the old woman said, handing Lami a small vial of red liquid. "Cook a meal for the king and pour this into it. When he eats, his heart will belong to you forever. But remember, your womb now belongs to me." Lami nodded and took the vial. As she walked back to the village, her mind swirled with excitement and fear. When she returned to the palace, Lami asked the servants for permission to cook a special meal for the king. "He has been so sad," she said sweetly. "I want to cheer him up." The servants, who trusted Lami as a close friend of the king, agreed. Lami prepared a delicious stew and secretly added the charm. When Obi sat down to eat, Lami served him herself. "This is for you, my king," she said, her voice soft. "I hope it brings you peace." Obi ate the meal without hesitation. The charm worked quickly. By the time he finished, his eyes softened as he looked at Lami. For the first time, he smiled at her. "Lami," Obi said, his voice warm, "I never realized how much I appreciate you. You've been by my side through everything." Lami's heart leapt. "I'll always be here for you," she said, masking her triumph with a modest smile. Within days, Obi announced that he and Lami would marry. The palace erupted in whispers. The villagers were shocked. How could the king marry Ada's best friend so soon after her disappearance? Even Ada's parents were devastated. How could this happen? Ada's mother cried. Lami was like a daughter to us. How can she replace our Ada? But no one dared question the king. The villagers had no proof of wrongdoing, and they feared punishment. Lami, now Queen Lami, walked through the palace with pride. She wore the finest robes and jewels, and King Obi showered her with love. But deep in her heart, Lami felt a shadow. She had everything she wanted, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. By the river, the golden fish swam in circles, its eyes glowing with quiet determination. The river was calm that morning, its surface shimmering under the golden light of the rising sun. Nika, a poor widow, carried her clay pot on her head as she walked to the water's edge. Life had been a constant struggle for her since her husband's passing, and feeding her only daughter, Kasi, often felt like an impossible task. But Nika kept her faith alive, always praying that someday things would get better. As she bent down to scoop water from the river, she muttered softly, "God, please provide for us. Even just one blessing will change everything." She filled her pot, placed it carefully on her head, and began the slow walk back to their tiny home on the edge of the village. When she arrived home, Nika set the pot down carefully on a wooden stool and prepared to pour the water into a large basin. But as she tipped the pot, her eyes widened in shock. A golden fish slid out of the water and flopped gently on the edge of the basin. Its scales sparkled like sunlight, and it looked unlike anything Nika had ever seen before. She froze, staring in disbelief. "Is this real?" Nika whispered to herself. She leaned closer, her heart pounding. She recognized the fish. It was the legendary golden fish, a creature said to appear only once every 10 years. It was rare and highly valuable, something that merchants and wealthy men would pay a fortune to own. This could change everything," Nika said, her voice trembling with excitement. "If I sell this fish, Kasi and I will never have to struggle again. God has truly answered my prayers." Just then, Kasi walked into the small room, carrying a bundle of firewood. She was a bright and curious girl with wide, innocent eyes. "Mama, what's wrong?" she asked when she saw her mother's stunned expression. Nika pointed to the fish. "Katsi, look." Katsi dropped the firewood and ran to her mother's side. Her jaw dropped when she saw the golden fish wriggling in the basin. "Mama, is that what I think it is?" "Yes, my child," Nika said, her voice trembling. "It's the golden fish, the one we've heard about in stories. If we sell it, we'll become rich. No more hunger, no more struggles." Casey's face lit up with excitement. "Mama, this is amazing. We can finally leave this little hut and live in a big house. We can buy good food, fine clothes, and maybe even a cow or two." Nika smiled at her daughter's joy, her own heart filled with hope. She gently lifted the fish and placed it in a large clay bowl filled with water to keep it alive. "I'll take it to the market tomorrow," she said. "The merchants will bid over this fish, and we'll get the best price. Tonight we'll eat well and celebrate." Casey clapped her hands in excitement. "Oh, Mama, we're finally going to be happy." But as the hours passed, Casey found herself staring at the fish, a strange feeling creeping into her heart. The fish seemed different from any animal she had ever seen. It didn't thrash or struggle like a regular fish. Its movements were gentle, almost graceful, and its eyes seemed to hold a quiet sadness. That evening, as Nika prepared their supper, Kasi sat by the fish and spoke to it softly. "You're such a beautiful fish," she said. "It's almost as if you understand me. Are you really meant to be sold? Or are you something else entirely?" The fish swam in slow circles, its golden scales shimmering in the dim light. Casey thought she saw its mouth move, but she quickly shook the thought away. "It's just a fish," she told herself. But deep down, she wasn't so sure. When the sun set, Nika and Katsi sat down to eat. Nika's spirits were high, and she spoke excitedly about all the things they would buy with the money from the fish. "We'll have new clothes, plenty of food, and maybe even a better house," she said. Casey nodded, but she was quieter than usual. Her mind kept drifting back to the fish in the bowl. As the night grew darker and Nika went to bed, Katsi couldn't sleep. She lit a small lamp and crept back to where the fish was. She knelt by the bowl and whispered, "If you're not just a fish, give me a sign. Show me who you really are." For a moment, nothing happened. But then, the water in the bowl began to ripple. though there was no wind. The fish swam to the surface and stared at Casey with its shimmering eyes. To Katsy's amazement, she heard a faint voice, soft but clear as day. "Help me," the voice said. Katsy gasped, her heart racing. Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I am Ada," the voice replied. "I was cursed and turned into a fish by someone I trusted. Please don't let your mother sell me. I need your help to become human again." Casey's hands trembled as she held the edges of the bowl. "How can I help you?" But before Ada could answer, a sound came from the other room. Nika stirred in her sleep, and Katsy quickly dimmed the lamp and went back to her room. Casey barely slept that night. Her mind raced with the fish's words. "I am Ada." The voice echoed in her head, filling her with both fear and wonder. Who was this Ada? And how had she become a fish? At dawn, Nika was already awake, humming happily as she prepared for the trip to the market. She had packed the golden fish in a smaller bowl, tying a cloth tightly over it to keep it hidden. "Casey, get up," she called. "Today is the day our lives change forever." Casey sat up slowly, her heart heavy. She didn't know how to tell her mother the truth. How could she explain that the fish wasn't just a rare creature, but a cursed human? Would her mother even believe her? "I'm coming, Mama," Casey called back, her voice faint. Nika bustled about, her face glowing with excitement. "Katie, just think of it. We'll finally be free from this life of suffering. No more hunger, no more begging for scraps." Casey nodded quietly as she helped her mother prepare. But when her eyes fell on the bowl with the golden fish, she felt a wave of guilt. How could they sell a living, breathing human being? As they walked to the market, the village came alive with chatter and laughter. People greeted Nika and Katsy warmly, though many whispered among themselves when they saw the tightly covered bowl. Word had already spread that Nika had caught something extraordinary. When they arrived at the marketplace, a crowd quickly gathered. Merchants and wealthy villagers craned their necks, eager to catch a glimpse of the golden fish. "What do you have there, Nika?" one merchant asked, his eyes glinting with curiosity. Nika smiled proudly and removed the cloth. Gasps filled the air as the golden fish was revealed, its scales glittering like treasure. "It's the golden fish," someone shouted. "I've heard stories about it. It only appears once in 10 years. Merchants began shouting over one another, each offering higher sums of money. "I'll pay 50 gold coins," one man said. 60, another shouted. 70. The bids rose higher and higher, and Nika's heart raced with joy. This was more money than she had ever dreamed of. She glanced at Katsy, expecting her to share in the excitement, but Katsy's face was pale and her hands were clenched tightly at her sides. Katsy stepped closer and touched her mother's arm. "Mama, wait," she said softly. "What is it, Katsy?" Nika asked, frowning. Katsy's voice trembled as she said, "Mama, we can't sell the fish." The crowd erupted in confusion. "What do you mean, child?" a merchant demanded. "Do you know how much this fish is worth?" Nika turned to her daughter with angry face. "Katsy, what are you saying? This fish is our blessing. It's the answer to all our prayers." Katsy looked up at her mother, her eyes brimming with emotion. "Mama, the fish is not just a fish, it's a human. Her name is Ada. She was cursed and turned into this form. I heard her speak to me last night. Please, Mama, we can't sell her. We need to help her." The crowd burst into laughter. "A cursed human? What nonsense is this?" a man said. "It's just a fish. The girl is making up stories," another said. But Nika didn't respond to them. She stared into her daughter's eyes. Katsy's expression was serious, her voice steady, and there was something in her tone that made Nika hesitate. "Katsy," Nika said quietly, "are you sure about this?" "Yes, Mama," Katsy said. "I know it sounds strange, but it's true. If we sell her, we'll be selling a person." Nika's hands trembled as she looked down at the fish. Its golden scales gleamed, but its eyes seemed different, almost human. She felt her heart twist with uncertainty. Finally, she turned to the crowd and raised her voice. "I'm sorry," she said, "but I can't sell this fish. We're taking it home." The crowd erupted in anger. "What do you mean you're not selling it?" a merchant shouted. "Don't be foolish," cried another. "Do you know how much money you're throwing away?" Nika clutched the bowl tightly and stepped back. I said no. This fish is not for sale. The merchants look at her, their faces red with frustration. One man stepped forward, his voice very sharp. You'll regret this, woman. You could have been rich. But Nika ignored him. She grabbed Kasi's hand and together they hurried out of the market. The angry shouts of the buyers followed them, but Nika didn't look back. After Nika and Kasi had left the market, 3 merchants who had failed to buy the golden fish gathered together in a quiet corner of the village. They were angry and upset that they hadn't gotten the fish, but they weren't ready to give up. One of them, a tall, thin man, had an idea. Tonight we take the fish by force, he said, his eyes gleaming. We'll sneak into their house and take it when they're not looking. If they try to stop us, we'll make sure they regret it. The other 2 merchants nodded. We'll do whatever it takes, one of them said. That fish is worth more money than we've ever seen. We can't let them escape with it. But one merchant felt uneasy. He had been helped by Nika in the past when he was hungry and had no place to stay. He remembered her kindness and felt bad about what the others were planning. I can't be part of this, he thought to himself. Nika helped me when I had nothing. I can't let them hurt her. He decided to warn Nika and Katsi. They needed to leave before the merchants came for them. He hurried to Nika's house, praying he wasn't too late. When he arrived, he knocked softly on the door. Nika opened it, surprised to see him standing there. What are you doing here? Nika asked, her voice filled with confusion. Listen to me, the merchant said quickly, glancing over his shoulder to make sure no one was watching. The others. They're coming tonight to steal the golden fish. They'll stop at nothing to get it. If you try to stop them, they might hurt you. You need to leave the village, and you need to leave now. Nika's heart sank. She looked over at Kasi, who was standing beside her, wide-eyed with fear. Steal the fish, Nika whispered. Yes, the merchant said, his voice urgent. They're criminals. They don't care about you or the fish. If you stay, you're in danger. Katsi looked at her mother, her face full of worry. Mama, we have to go, don't we? She asked softly. Nika nodded slowly. Yes, Katsi, we have no choice. We must leave. The merchant continued. You need to leave quietly before nightfall. Go into the forest and hide. Find somewhere safe and don't stop until you're far away. If you wait too long, it will be too late. Nika grabbed the golden fish and a small bag with some food and blankets. Thank you, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. We will go right now. The merchant gave them a quick nod. Go quickly and stay safe. I'll make sure no one follows you. With that, Nika and Katsi left their home and quietly walked through the village, trying not to make a sound. They could hear the whispers of the night, but their footsteps were the only sound that mattered. As they walked further and further away from the village, they could feel the weight of fear and worry heavy on their shoulders. The only thing that mattered was getting to safety. The sun had set by the time they reached the edge of the forest. The trees were tall and dark, but it was their only option. The wind rustled through the branches as Nika and Katie stepped into the thick woods. After walking for what felt like hours, they came across an old abandoned hut deep in the forest. The roof was covered with moss and the walls were cracked and weathered. But it was a place to rest for the night, far from the village and the danger they had left behind. We'll sleep here tonight, Nika said, relief washing over her. At least for now we're safe. Casey nodded, her eyes tired but still alert. She knew they couldn't stay there forever, but for tonight it was enough. They set up the small bedrolls they had brought with them and curled up inside the hut. The sounds of the forest were all around them. The wind, the rustling leaves, and the distant hoot of an owl filled the air. Despite the danger, Nika felt a small sense of comfort. They had escaped the danger for now. Back in the village, Lami had become heartless. With King Obi under the spell of the charm, he agreed to everything she said, even when it didn't make sense. She ruled the palace as if she was the true king. Her once gentle smile was now cold, and her heart had turned to stone. One morning, Lami sent a messenger to Ada's mother, summoning her to the palace. The poor woman rushed over, thinking something important had happened. When she arrived, she was surprised to find Lami seated on a golden throne, surrounded by servants. "You're here," Lami said with a fake smile. "The cooks are not making food the way I like it. You must prepare today's meal for me." Ada's mother was shocked. "Your Majesty, I'm just a farmer's wife. There are trained cooks in the palace. Why would you ask me? Lami leaned forward, her voice cold. I didn't ask for your opinion. I gave you an order. If you refuse, you and your family will face punishment. Now get to work. Ada's mother swallowed her pride and went into the palace kitchen. She cooked all day, making meals for Lami, while the other palace cooks stood by, confused and helpless. When she was done, Lami tasted the food and shouted, "This is just barely acceptable," she said. "Come back tomorrow and try harder." The next day, Lami sent another messenger, this time to Ada's father. She ordered him to work in the royal garden, trimming hedges and planting flowers. When he arrived, the king's head gardener tried to stop him, saying, "You don't need to do this. We have enough workers here." But Ada's father shook his head. "I have no choice," he said. "The queen has ordered me, and I cannot disobey." Under the hot sun, Ada's father worked tirelessly. His back ached, and his hands became rough with blisters. The villagers whispered among themselves, wondering why Lami was treating Ada's parents this way. The chiefs of the village couldn't ignore Lami's behavior any longer. They gathered in secret to discuss what to do. "She's out of control," one chief said. "She's treating our people like slaves. This is not the way of our land." "We must talk to her," another agreed. "Even if she is queen, we cannot allow this cruelty to continue." The chiefs went to the palace the next morning. They were led into the grand hall, where Lami sat on her throne, wearing a dazzling crown. "What do you want?" Lami asked sharply. The oldest chief stepped forward and bowed. "Your Majesty, we come in peace. But we must speak the truth. The way you are treating the villagers, especially Ada's parents, is not right. They have done nothing to deserve this. Please, we beg you to show mercy." Lami's face darkened. She rose from her throne, her voice echoing through the hall. "How dare you question me? I am your queen. Do you think you can tell me how to rule?" "Your Majesty, we mean no disrespect," the chief began, but Lami cut him off. "Silence," she roared. "If any of you dare to disrespect me again, I will have you banished from this land. Do you hear me? You will lose everything and never return." The chiefs looked at one another, their faces filled with fear and anger. They knew they could not fight her without the king's support, and the king was completely under her spell. Defeated, they bowed and left the palace. Lami watched them go, her lips curling into a cruel smile. "Let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks they can stand against me," she muttered. But while Lami believed she had won, whispers of her cruelty began to spread through the village. The people who had once respected the queen now spoke of her with anger and fear. "She's no queen," one man said bitterly. "She's a tyrant. If only Ada were here. She would have stood up to Lami." Ada's parents suffered in silence, their hearts heavy with grief. Every night they prayed for their daughter, hoping she was alive somewhere, far away from Lami's wickedness. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Nika and Kasi had spent 2 long days in the old hut. The forest was quiet during the day, but the nights were filled with strange noises that made Kasi tremble. The golden fish swam silently in the clay pot, its shimmering scales glowing faintly in the dim light. Kasi sat on the floor, her knees drawn to her chest. "Mama," she said softly, "we can't keep staying here. We don't have enough food, and it's not safe." Nika looked at her daughter, worry etched on her face. She knew Casey was right, but she didn't know where to go. If they returned to the village, the merchants might find them. If they stayed in the forest, they could starve or be attacked by wild animals. As they were discussing what to do, a strange thing happened. The air inside the hut suddenly grew cold, and a bright light appeared in the doorway. Before their eyes, an old woman stepped into the room. Her hair was white as snow, and her eyes sparkled like the stars. She carried a staff, and her voice was gentle but firm. "Do not be afraid," the old woman said. "The gods of the land have sent me to you." Nika and Kasi stared at her in shock, their mouths hanging open. "Who are you?" Nika stammered. "I am a messenger of the gods," the old woman replied. "I have been watching over you at night, keeping the dangers of the forest away. Your hearts are pure, and the gods have heard your prayers. I know why you are here, and I know what you wish for." Nika clutched her chest, tears streaming down her face. "Can you really help us?" Can you bring the girl inside the fish back to life? The old woman nodded. Yes, I can help. But you must follow my instructions carefully. There are 2 remedies to break the spell. First, you must take this rare herb. She reached into her bag and pulled out a bundle of leaves glowing faintly. Rub this herb on the fish and it will begin to transform, but this alone is not enough. Casey leaned forward, listening intently. What else must we do? The old woman's eyes grew serious. The second part is the most important. You must make sure the king sees Ada within 7 days. If the prince does not lay his eyes on her within that time, she will remain a fish forever, and the spell can never be undone. Nika gasped. The king? But he's in his village. How do we locate him when we don't even know each other's? How will we get him to see her? The gods believe in your courage, the old woman said. You must not lose hope. Take this herb, and I will show you the way back to the village. Be careful, for the journey will not be easy. She handed the herb to Nika and pointed in the direction of the village. Follow this path, and it will lead you home. Do not delay, for time is running out. Remember, you have 7 days. With that, the old woman disappeared into the air, leaving Nika and Katie alone in the hut. They looked at each other, their hearts racing. We have no choice, Mama, Casey said firmly. We have to go. We have to try. They packed their few belongings and began their journey through the forest. The path was rough, and their feet ached, but they kept moving, driven by the hope of saving Ada. After hours of walking, they finally reached the outskirts of Ada's village. This must be it, Casey whispered, her voice filled with wonder and fear. The village was larger than their own, with wide streets and tall huts made of clay. In the center stood the grand palace, its walls painted in bright colors. But as they moved closer, they could feel the tension in the air. Villagers whispered among themselves, casting worried glances toward the palace. Something isn't right, Nika said softly. They approached the palace gates, carrying the golden fish in a covered pot. The guards stopped them at the entrance. What is your business here? One of the guards asked. We must see the king, Nika said urgently. It is a matter of great importance. The guards looked at each other, unsure of what to do. Finally, one of them went inside to inform Lami. Inside the palace, Lami was lounging on her golden throne, surrounded by servants. When the guard informed her about the visitors, she raised an eyebrow. Who dares come to the palace uninvited? She asked coldly. They didn't give their names, Your Majesty, the guard replied, but they say it is urgent and must speak to the king. Lami sneered. No one speaks to the king without my permission. Bring them in, and they will explain themselves to me first. The guards returned and escorted Nika and Kasi into the grand hall. Lami's eyes narrowed as she saw them. What do you want? She demanded. Nika bowed low, trying to keep her voice steady. Your Majesty, we bring news that concerns the king. We humbly ask for an audience with him. Lami's face darkened in anger. You dare to come to the palace and demand to see the king. Tell me why you are here, or you will be thrown out of here immediately. Casey held tightly to her mother's arm, fear in her eyes, but Nika stood firm. Please, Your Majesty, we mean no harm. We only wish to speak with the king. Lami's face darkened with rage. So you think you can disrespect me in my own palace? She stepped closer, her voice rising. Guards, remove these fools immediately. 2 guards stepped forward, their expressions stern. Let's go, one of them barked, grabbing Nika by the arm. Wait, Casey cried out. Please, we are only trying to help. Silence, Lami shouted, cutting her off. Take them out now. The guards dragged Nika and Katsi out of the palace, ignoring their protests. Once they reached the gates, they shoved them outside. Don't come back unless you're ready to obey the queen, one of the guards said harshly before slamming the gates shut. Nika stumbled but quickly steadied herself, clutching the clay pot tightly. Kasi helped her mother, tears running down her cheeks. Mama, she said, her voice trembling, what do we do now? Lami wouldn't listen to us. Nika sighed deeply, her heart heavy. I don't know yet, Kachi, but we can't give up. The gods sent us here for a reason, and we have to believe there's still hope. They walked away from the palace, finding a quiet spot under a tree to rest. As they sat under the tree, a small group of villagers passed by. Nika and Katsi stayed quiet but listened closely to their conversation. "Lami has gone too far," one man said, shaking his head. "Did you hear she made Ada's parents work for her? She treats them like slaves." "It's cruel," a woman replied. "But what can we do? She controls the king now. He doesn't even speak to us anymore. It's like he's not himself." "It's that charm she used," another whispered. "Everyone knows the king wasn't like this before she arrived." Nika and Kasi exchanged a look. "Mama," Kasi whispered, "they know something is wrong. Maybe they're afraid to act, but if we can reach the king, we can help him see the truth." They had to find Ada's family and tell them what had happened. They stood up quickly, determined to learn more. "Excuse me," Nika asked a group of villagers nearby. "Can you please tell us where Ada's family lives? We need to speak with them." The villagers saw the seriousness in Nika and Katsi's eyes. They knew something important was happening. "Their house is just down the road, by the big mango tree," one of the villagers said, pointing toward the edge of the village. "But be careful, Lami's men are everywhere. Don't let them see you." "Thank you," Casey said quietly, and they quickly walked toward the house. As they reached the edge of the village, they found the house with a small garden in front. Nika knocked gently on the door, and after a moment Ada's parents appeared. They looked tired and sad, their faces full of worry. "Can we help you?" Ada's father asked, his voice soft. "We're friends of Ada," Nika said, her heart racing. "We know what happened to her. She's not lost. She's alive, but she's been turned into a fish." Ada's parents looked at each other, shocked. "She's alive?" Ada's mother asked, her voice trembling. "But how?" Nika nodded. "She was changed by magic. We're trying to find a way to help her, but we need your help. We need to speak to the king." Ada's parents were quiet for a moment, sadness filling their eyes. Seeing their daughter as a fish was heartbreaking. They had feared the worst for so long, and now they knew she was still out there, but trapped. "I knew something was wrong," Ada's father said, shaking his head. "Lami has been so cruel to us. We tried everything, but the king doesn't listen to us anymore." Ada's mother wiped away her tears. "We thought we'd lost her forever. But you say she's still alive?" Nika nodded again. "Yes, she's in the form of a fish. We have her with us now." Ada's parents seemed both relieved and heartbroken at the same time. They were happy their daughter was still alive, but the thought of her being trapped in such a way filled them with sadness. Ada's mother wiped her eyes again. "We have tried everything. The king no longer listens to us. He is under Lami's spell, and now she controls everything. The only way to get to the king is through the palm wine tapper." "The palm wine tapper?" Casey asked, confused. "Yes," Ada's father explained. "The palm wine tapper is the only one Lami trusts. He is the only person she allows to enter the palace. If we can find him and get him to help us, that's the only way to get to the king." That evening, after speaking quietly with Nika and Kasi, Lami's parents made a decision. They would go to the palm wine tapper and ask for his help, even though they were scared of what might happen. They knew this was their only hope to bring Ada back. The palm wine tapper lived at the edge of the village near the tall palm trees. When they arrived at his small hut, Lami's parents explained everything, telling him how their daughter had been turned into a fish by Lami's magic. The tapper listened carefully, his face serious. "I have heard rumors of strange things happening at the palace," he said quietly. "I will help you, but it's dangerous. If Lami finds out, she will do everything to stop us." "We understand," Ada's mother said, tears in her eyes. "But we can't lose Ada. Please, help us." The palm wine tapper agreed to help them, and after some thought, he made a plan. "I will take the fish to the palace. I will hide it from Lami and wait for the right moment. When the king is close, I will show him the fish. If the gods are on our side, Ada will return to her human form, and the spell on the king will break." Ada's parents were filled with hope. The palm wine tapper carefully took the fish, wrapped it in a cloth, and set off towards the palace. When he arrived at the palace gates, he was stopped by Lami's guards. They were suspicious, but the palm wine tapper quickly convinced them that he was just there to bring a special gift for the king. They allowed him to enter. Inside the palace, the tapper made his way through the halls, trying to avoid Lamy. He found a quiet corner and waited, hiding the fish carefully. Soon he heard the footsteps of the king approaching. The king came into view, looking tired and lost, as if he wasn't fully awake. The tapper stood up, holding the fish in his hands. "Your Majesty," the tapper said, bowing low, "I have something for you." The king looked confused but stepped closer. The tapper slowly unwrapped the cloth, revealing the golden fish. As soon as the king saw it, his eyes widened. Something deep inside him stirred. He reached out and touched the fish, and as he did, something magical happened. In a flash of bright light, the fish began to glow. The king stepped back, shocked, as the golden fish began to change. The scales shimmered and disappeared, and before the king's eyes, Ada appeared in her human form, standing before him, as beautiful and graceful as ever. Ada looked around, confused, but then saw her parents standing in the corner, their faces filled with tears of joy. "Ada!" her mother cried, "You're back. You're human again." Ada looked at her parents, then at the king, whose face had changed from confusion to understanding. For the first time in a long while, he seemed free from the spell that Lamy had placed on him. The king stepped forward, and with a gentle smile he hugged Ada tightly. "I am so sorry for everything you've gone through, Ada," he said, his voice filled with regret. "This was all Lamy's doing. She trapped me in a spell, and I could not see the truth. I've hurt you and your family, and I deeply regret that." Ada, feeling the warmth of the king's embrace, looked up at him. Her heart was filled with relief, but she could also feel the weight of the king's sorrow. She had been through so much, but hearing his apology made her feel a little lighter. "You were under a spell, Your Majesty," Ada said softly. "You couldn't have known." The king nodded sadly. "I wish I had known sooner. I should have seen what Lamy was doing, but she had me under her control. Now that the spell is broken, I see things clearly." He turned to Ada's parents, who were standing nearby, and bowed his head. "I owe you all an apology too. I failed to protect your daughter, but I will do everything I can to make things right." Ada's parents looked at the king, their faces filled with a mix of sadness and relief. "Thank you, Your Majesty," Ada's father said, his voice shaky with emotion. "We're just glad to have Ada back." The king smiled at them all, his heart full of gratitude. "Together, we will rebuild what has been broken. Lamy's evil is over, and she will never harm anyone again." Ada's mother reached out and hugged her daughter, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Our family is whole again. Thank you, Your Majesty, for setting things right." The king looked at Ada's father, surprised and curious. "How did you know all of this?" he asked. "How did you find out about the spell?" Ada's father bowed his head in respect before answering. "Your Majesty, there is a woman named Nika and her daughter Katsi. They are strangers to us, but they came to our aid when we had no one else to turn to. Nika knew about the magic and the curse on Ada. She guided us, even though it was dangerous. Without them, we would have never been able to break the spell and bring Ada here." The king's face showed a mixture of surprise and gratitude. "Strangers? They risked everything for my wife Ada." "Yes, Your Majesty," Ada's father replied. "They did not hesitate, even though they didn't know us. They helped us with all their heart, and they made sure we reached you safely." The king felt a deep sense of appreciation. "That is truly brave of them. We owe them so much." He then looked at Ada's father with a serious expression. "Where are they now? I want to meet them and thank them personally." Ada's father smiled and said, "They are at my house right now, resting after everything they have been through." The king immediately stood up and ordered his guards. "Go to Ada's father's house and bring Nika and Kasi here at once. I want to speak with them." The guards nodded and hurried off to do as the king had instructed. Meanwhile, the king turned to Ada's family. "I am so grateful to you all, and to Nika and Katsi for what they have done. They are true heroes." As they waited for Nika and Kasi to arrive at the palace, the king turned to his guards with a serious look. He knew that Lamy's actions had caused so much pain and chaos, and it was time to address her wrongdoings. "Go to Lamy's chamber," the king ordered firmly, "and bring her to me. I need to speak with her immediately." The guards quickly left to carry out the king's orders. Moments later, they returned, their faces filled with confusion. "Your Majesty," one of the guards said, bowing low, "Lamy is not in her chamber. We searched everywhere, but she is nowhere to be found." The kings went angry. Not in her chamber? Where could she have gone? He looked around as if expecting to see Lamy appear suddenly. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. "We do not know, Your Majesty. It's as though she vanished." The king paced for a moment, his mind racing. "It seems she has fled. She knows her time has come," he said, his voice low. He turned to the guards again. "Send word to every corner of the kingdom. No one is to help her. If she's in the village or the forest, we will find her. And if anyone tries to hide her, they will be punished." Meanwhile, Lamy had fled to the old witch's hut deep in the forest. Her face was filled with anger and determination as she spoke to the old woman. "I must destroy the king and Ada," she said fiercely. "I need a charm that will help me take over the kingdom once and for all." The old woman, sitting on a wooden stool, gave Lamy a dark look. She muttered a strange chant under her breath, then reached into her collection of jars and powders. After a moment, she handed Lamy a small black pouch. "This charm will give you the power to end their lives," the old woman said in a raspy voice. "But there is one rule you must follow. As you return to the palace, do not look back. No matter what you hear, no matter who calls your name, keep your eyes forward. If you fail, the charm will turn against you." Lamy nodded, gripping the pouch tightly. "I understand," she said, determined. "Nothing will stop me." The old woman's eyes narrowed. "Remember, Lamy, you have chosen a dangerous path. Do not fail." Lamy left the hut, the pouch clutched in her hands. Her mind was racing with thoughts of power and revenge. As she walked through the forest on her way to the palace, she heard a voice behind her. "Lamy, my beautiful queen," the voice called sweetly, "the most powerful woman in the land." Lamy's steps faltered. She loved being praised, and the words filled her with pride, but she remembered the old woman's warning and kept walking, refusing to look back. The voice called again, this time more enticing. "Lamy, the one who will rule the kingdom. The people love you. Don't you want to hear more?" Lamy slowed down, her heart pounding. The words were so tempting, and her pride swelled. She stopped in her tracks, her curiosity overcoming her. She turned her head slightly to see who was speaking. In that instant, the charm backfired. A powerful wave of darkness swept over her, and Lamy let out a loud scream. Her mind became clouded, and her thoughts turned into chaos. She dropped the pouch and began to laugh uncontrollably. Her laughter turned to screams, and her screams to sobs. Lamy had gone mad. Wild and frantic, Lamy stumbled out of the forest, running in no particular direction. Her once proud demeanor was now replaced by a crazed look in her eyes. Her hair was scattered, and her clothes were torn as she ran toward the palace, her laughter echoing through the air. By the time she reached the palace gates, Nika and Kasi were already there with Ada and her family. The guards tried to stop her, but Lamy pushed past them, her madness driving her forward. She fell to her knees before the king, laughing and crying at the same time. Everyone in the palace stared in shock. The once powerful and proud Lamy was now a broken shadow of herself. The king looked at her, his face filled with a mixture of pity and anger. "What have you done, Lamy?" he asked softly. But Lamy could not answer. She continued to mumble and laugh, her words making no sense. The charm she had tried to use had destroyed her. Lamy, in her madness, ran out of the palace gates. She was screaming and laughing as she ran onto the main road. Suddenly, a speeding car appeared from nowhere. Before the driver could stop, the car hit her. Lamy fell to the ground, and within moments she was gone. The villagers who saw it gasped and whispered among themselves. "This is the punishment for her wickedness," one of them said. Back in the palace, the atmosphere was different. Ada, the king, and her family were gathered together with Nika and Katsi. The king stood and looked at Nika and her daughter with gratitude in his eyes. "I don't know how to thank you enough," the king said. "You risked your lives for my wife, Ada. You brought her back to me. Your kindness and bravery saved us all." Lowered her head humbly. "Your Majesty, we only did what was right. Ada did not deserve what happened to her. We are just happy that she is safe now." The king smiled and turned to Ada. "We owe them so much," he said. Ada nodded and held Nika's hand tightly. "You didn't just save me, you gave me my life back. I will never forget what you have done." The king then made a grand gesture. He called the palace guards and made an announcement. "From this day forward, Nika and her daughter Kasi will have a new home in our kingdom. I will give them a large house where they can live comfortably. Nika will also have enough money to start a big farm. She will be able to hire workers to help her, so she will no longer struggle alone." Nika's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Your Majesty," she said, her voice shaking. "This is more than I could have ever dreamed of." Casey hugged her mother tightly, smiling brightly. "We'll finally have a good life, Mama," she said. The entire palace celebrated that night. The villagers rejoiced that peace had returned, and everyone was happy for Ada and the king. A few months later, Ada received even more joy. She discovered that she was pregnant. The entire kingdom celebrated the news. When the time came, Ada gave birth to twin boys. The king and Ada were overjoyed. The palace was filled with laughter and happiness once more. Nika and Kasi visited often, and their friendship with Ada grew stronger. The kingdom remained peaceful, and everyone was reminded that kindness and bravery always bring blessings in the end. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.